Eyefrica Media, the biggest media platform for all things eye care on the African continent. I'm your host, Obi Malope, and of course, as you can see, we're pulling out all stops today, as I've got the big man here with us today, Professor Lawrence Sithole. How are you, Prof?
Can't complain.
I'm extremely honored and privileged to be able to just have this conversation with you. It's different, you know. I've been watching your career over the years, learning from you from a distance, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. People within the industry have been observing that. It was first Lawrence, then Dr. Sithole, eventually now Professor Sithole. That journey, I'm sure that there's a lot of people in South Africa or the rest of the continent who are interested to learn about you. Who are you? How did your journey in eye care get into me? I feel like I'm underdressed for the occasion, but it's Friday, Prof. And so, sincere apologies, but as much as you are very professional, the conversations that I've had with you, you come across as someone who's relatable, someone that is accessible, someone that both young, old, experienced, inexperienced people can come to for advice, just about anything that they need. And so, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule for us to have this conversation. So who is Prof Lawrence Sithole? Forget about the camera, let's have fun.
Thank you, Obi. And thank you for the accolades. I take them with a contrite heart. I'm an ordinary optometrist, just like everyone. Of course, I started from those humble beginnings, like we always say. I started my journey at the University of the North then,
Okay.
where I studied my B.Optom. And I must say that when I first registered there, I registered for a BSc in agriculture.
Really?
And then, before I could even attend the first class, then I changed to do BSc in my first year. Then, having done BSc, I thought, no, this is not what I want. I actually did BSc for a year.
Okay.
Then I changed into optometry. And then I completed in 2002.
Wow.
And in 2003, I became a tutor in the Department of Optometry at the University of the North.
Wow.
I stayed there for about 3 years. Then I moved to the University of KwaZulu-Natal,
Okay.
where I was a lecturer for about 2 years. I stayed there, I interacted with a number of colleagues that I now know in the field, including the likes of Professor Mashige, who is now the Dean of Health Sciences at the university. Then I moved to the University of South Africa as a manager for research training. And I learned the trade of research while I was at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, where I was interacting with the likes of Professor Oduntan and Professor Mashige, Professor Vanessa Moodley, Professor Hansraj, Dr. Nishan Rampasa.
Those are
all of those
star ones within our
all of
industry.
those,
Wow.
all of those. I interacted with them for a good 2 years.
Sure.
And I don't regret my stay there. When I was at the University of South Africa, I started interacting with the likes of Professor Maluleke, who nurtured me very well in research administration. I started interacting with various people, and from there, because that's when I started doing a lot of research. But my research, although I was at UNISA, was a lot of people were asking, what are you doing at UNISA, because there's no optometry.
For sure.
But when I was at UNISA, I had a lot of time, because then I was able to start my own private optometry practice while I was there.
Wow.
I had ample time to go and see my patients, gather data while I'm there, come back into my office, sit on my laptop and start writing and publish and do all of those things. That opened my eyes because it gave me a platform to even travel internationally. I've been to a number of overseas countries where I was presenting the kind of research that I was doing while I was at my practice, and also the research that was emanating from my master's degree.
Wow.
I've been to your London, your Greece, your Sweden, your Germany, you name them, because of having exposed myself to the research world, and in particular, optometry.
Prof, on that note, that's incredible. Do you find that we don't have a lot of young optometrists who are actually going in that route of early on in their career, finding out more about about research. How many young people, actually let me ask you in a different way, how many young people right now are pursuing you to get the type of knowledge or exposure that you were doing earlier on in your career?
Look, I must say that the young and upcoming ones now, they are trying. It's not an easy journey because you need to be really, really focused. They are trying. There are those who are trying to emulate me in my journey. Some, I see them, they've registered for their master's degrees.
Nice.
Nice. Some are contemplating registering for their PhDs as well. And I'm supervising them, by the way.
Very nice.
So
very nice.
I'm encouraging them, I am encouraging them to pursue higher degrees, because ultimately, if you really want to play at that stage, at that level, with other optometrists who are highly qualified at that level, you need to also make sure that you prepare yourself to play in that field.
Wow, that is very powerful. And your particular research, what was it focused on? In you becoming a professor, what was your research all about?
Well, my initial focus at master's level, I focused on environmental optometry.
Okay.
In particular, the ocular effect of welding.
Wow.
Among welders in the Limpopo province. That's where I did my research. I gathered my data in the Capricorn district of the Limpopo province. I've traveled to those villages within that district, interacting with various welders of different ages, looking at the oculovisual effects of welding, documenting the data and everything, coming back to analyze and publish. So that's basically what my focus was on. And then I later on moved on to focusing on eye health promotion, as it were. Because I was linking that to what I did while I was doing my master's degree, because I was focusing on ocular visual effects of welding. Then I went on to do more on health promotion. And by the way, the reason why I went on to focus on health promotion is because I came across a document that was talking about oral health promotion.
Okay.
Then I asked myself, I'm reading this document for the first time. I've never seen a document that talks about eye health promotion from the National Department of Health. Then I started researching and checking what is available, and I learned that we actually only had 4 guidelines on various aspects of eye health, but not in particular or specifically eye health promotion.
Very interesting.
Then I started doing my research with view to recommending coming up with protocols or a framework for eye health promotion.
Wow, so for you it was bigger than just becoming academically well achieved. You wanted to come and provide solutions within your community, within our industry, at that practical level, basically.
Yes, I may say so, because you see, at the end of the day, when you do research, it must be impactful. You don't just do research just to have it in the archives, somewhere in the libraries or in the institutional repositories. You don't do research for that. It must be impactful. It must be able to influence policy.
Wow.
And talking about influencing policy, I actually even met some representatives of the National Department of Health after completing my studies, my PhD, where I shared my results so that we could actually start talking about formulating or coming up with a framework for eye health promotion.
Wow. Prof, one thing that I've observed about you through different platforms where I connect with you or follow you is that as much as you are going on a global stage representing South Africa, you stick to your guns, you stick true to who you are. How has your heritage or your upbringing influenced the type of leader that you have found yourself being, irrespective of whether you're in Germany, London, America? You still have that sense of identity that you have not disconnected from. How has your upbringing, or I don't know, what influences that?
Look, I can say categorically in color print that my upbringing has contributed a lot towards the kind of person that I am today. You see, having studied at the University of the North, now University of Limpopo, while I was there, I can tell you that I completed my degree without even seeing my results, not even once.
Wow. Elaborate.
I'm telling you, I've never seen my results on paper that indicate to me that I have passed my first level modules. It has never happened until I completed. I just went to the next level because of the hope and the belief that I had that I have passed all the modules of the previous year. Yeah, when I went to the administrator's offices, I would just give them my student number, having completed
and your pass to go on.
Yeah, having completed the modules in the form of the next year or of that current year, and I would give it to them, and then they would punch and they would say, okay, that's it, here's a proof of registration. Then I knew that, oh, it means I've passed. Whether I passed by 50%, 61%, I did not know. Because I never had the means to get my hands on the results that I had worked so hard for. You know, so that's how I completed my undergraduate degree. But funny enough, in the final year, I got 2 bursaries.
Wow.
One from the university, one from the Department of Health in Limpopo, and another one from the Department of Health here in Gauteng. But funny enough, still, I chose one. I chose the one from the Department of Health in Limpopo. But funny enough, even after they paid whatever they paid, I did not get my results. When I inquired, they told me that I owe 70 rand for a student card. So I completed my undergraduate degree without getting my results, not even once. So what am I saying? I'm saying to all the kids out there who are doing their undergrad, it's of no use going to cry for your results, failing results for that matter. All you need to do is to work hard, get down and be dating.
Wow. That is truly phenomenal. And what is your view on mentorship? I know you mentioned earlier on that some of the students that you're supervising, but do we have enough mentors in our industry here in South Africa?
There's a lot of those in various areas.
Okay.
Well, we're inspecting an RT now. Miss Netini, she's one of the mentors from the business aspect of optometry to a number of aspiring business optometry minded people. You know, we have the likes of yourself. You're doing very well in your own corner. The only secret is that each one of us, we must find our own corners and excel in that particular area.
I like that. I like
you
that
know,
approach.
we cannot do the same thing, all of us.
I like that.
We will not open spectacle huts across South Africa, all of us. It won't happen like that. We will not be so energetic and have all, whatever you have, whatever you're doing. We can't be all like you, and we can't be all like me.
I like that.
But to a certain extent, we can influence each other to copy bits and pieces from all of us. Combined, we can come up or produce a cadre, a different cadre altogether. We'll come up with a different cadre.
So the next generation is actually then fortunate enough that they've got multiple examples of people who are doing things that perhaps your generation was not exposed to.
Exactly. There is a lot. I mean, I can name a few. We've got the likes of Mr. Edward Machuba, who's in business, is an optometrist, with the likes of Mr. Jafta Paloi. They're doing well. You know, what is important? Find your niche and excel.
Wow. Prof, that's very, very incredible. I wanted to ask you, you are a family man. A lot of times people will talk about a work-life balance. What is your view or approach when it comes to family life, the academic side of optometry, but at the end of the day, there's still the financial aspects whereby you need to provide for your family. Now that, I don't know whether it's a balance but that ecosystem basically, how do you manage that?
Look, family comes first.
Okay.
We all have 24 hours in a day. We just have to prioritize. You need to give your attention to your family because they are very, very important. They are your backbone. When I was doing my PhD, my wife was by my side. I spent sleepless nights. Sometimes she would be helping me look at certain things. When I was finalizing my document, she was helping me go through my reference checks and all of that. I brought her closer, so that she may not say to me, I'm holding bed alone. She was there, my kids were there. When I woke up in the morning, I knew that there is a goal that I've set for myself. I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, so that when I go back home, my wife may receive me with a smile. You see? So it is important that you don't leave your family behind in a quest for glory.
That is powerful.
It can't be glorious enough without your family. Whatever you achieve in your life, it is nicer when your family is there. I can tell you, if I get my salary today, if I don't spend it with my family, I won't enjoy it. I think money is more enjoyable when you spend it on your wife and kids. Not when you spend it on yourself. What you enjoy is to generate the income that you spend on your family. Your joy comes from the hard work that you put into your trade.
Sure.
I see you enjoying what you're doing right now. We are meeting here because you're enjoying what you're doing. Not what necessarily will come out of this interaction between you and I. But now, the reward, the feeling, that's what actually makes you to do this more and more and more and more. For me, doing my trade, excelling in my trade, publishing an article, getting an invite from some colleagues overseas who asks for an opinion from me, a boy from a rural village at Mwashinyaman. I never thought at any stage I could find myself getting, communications from gurus in optometry that I've never met, soliciting information from me on certain aspects of optometry. Now, when I find myself doing that, I find myself in a space where I feel there is a lot of tranquility, peace, and loving kindness. Then I go to my wife, who receives me with milk of human kindness.
I love that. That is so powerful because I think we get caught up in the chase, we get caught up in all of that. But the way you described in terms of what is important and the focus where it should be, that's very, very powerful. I'm learning a lot from that, and I struggle with that sometimes. So thank you very much for putting perspective into such an important aspect of our lives. Prof, South Africa is a different country. It's very diverse. I think it's one of the most diverse countries here on the African continent, in the sense that we've got the high LSM, middle income earning people, as well as a very low income people, and spread out across South Africa. With how our practices are structured, or where our practices are located, are we doing enough to position ourselves in areas where people really need eye care? Or is there still room for us to go into those rural areas that you made mention to earlier on? Because I believe that those rural areas, those middle income areas here in South Africa will depict what the rest of Africa is also then going to be looking like. Are we best positioned to address the needs from solving those eye care related problems? Or what do you feel, or where is the room for us to get involved?
Unfortunately, our focus is on the bottom line. At the end of the day, you want to see how much you have made. And unfortunately, that's what pays the bills. However, one of the leading causes of avoidable blindness in the country is refractive error. And most of the people who are affected by this leading cause of avoidable blindness, these are the people who are in the far-flung areas of our country. Sure. These are the people in the bundus, in the villages, in the mountains, in places like where I come from. And we don't set too much practices in those areas. Of course, I know some of my colleagues the likes of Mr. Maino Kobe, I think in state law we once set a cash practice there, so that it could service the people, low-income earners in that region.
Yes.
That is not enticing, because at the end of the day, you won't accumulate enough, to go by. But those people, we need to come up with modalities of saving them, because if you go to those villages, cataract, incipient cataract, it's causing a lot of avoidable blindness. What is it that we're doing? Visual impairment as a result of uncorrected refractive error. There is a lot of those. What is it that we are doing? We're not doing much because we don't get much in return. But of course we see there's a lot of pillow paper that goes on the sides to try and call those people into their premises and take care of them, for sure. But most of us, we are not focusing on those because we are focusing on the bottom line. There's no one who doesn't want money. I don't want to lie about that. We all need money.
For sure, for sure.
And a lot of people will say, even the likes of myself, who is now a professor, we need money. Yet we say that in universities, there is no money. But this is what I want to say, and this is what I'm submitting to everyone, that you can make it work. You can make money in every corner where you find yourself. It depends on how dedicated, on the strategies that you come up, that you employ to make sure that you get satisfaction, not only emotional satisfaction, but also monetary wise. Even in academia, I can state it here categorically that there is money. I'm not saying that I have the money, but I'm saying if you work harder, there is money. There are rewards in every corner where you find yourself.
The rewards are there. You just have to work hard.
Yes, there is. If you go that extra mile, if you don't just do what you are told to do, there is money.
You are a hardcore academic. That's the initial reference point that people have to, but like now you've alluded to the fact that at the end of the day, you still need to live. My question then becomes, are you an advocate of technological advancements that make it easy for people in those communities or areas to access eye care, but sometimes people will object to various types of technological advancements if they are minimizing or taking away from what they are doing on a day-to-day basis from the urban areas. So if there's a technological equipment or procedure that makes it easy for thousands of people to get visual correction, but it is not the traditional means of examinations, are you for it or against it? What are your thoughts around that?
Okay, this is what I can say about this. Look, it is important to study the context under which you operate.
Okay.
Everything must be contextual. You see now, we are talking about vaccines because we are living with this pandemic, for sure. There are people who are believing that if you take the vaccine, you will die. Or the government is using the vaccine to reduce the number of people in the country or in the world. There's this so-called New World Order. Now, it is very important that you study the context, the people that you serve. Now, if you go to the villages and say, I'm coming up with this technology, people in the villages are used to a certain way of doing things. Do you know that in the villages, in the hospitals in the villages, eye care services are offered free? But people still, they don't go. Sure. Now, it is very, very important that you study the uptake of services that are freely given. It's very, very low.
It's not as quick as people were thinking.
No.
Okay.
So, the technological advancements that we come up with, it may work well in urban areas, but it may not work in the villages. There is a study that I was trying to do with a certain student of mine, where we were going to look at reasons why people in the villages, they prefer going to traditional healers for eye care services than to an ordinary optometrist who will display an array of good gadgets that are technologically advanced. In some practices, you even put them in the foyer here for people to see as they walk past. Sure. But those things, in certain environments, they don't entice people to come in and consult. They are enticed by a traditional healer who will talk to them in a language that they understand. So technology does not necessarily solve everyone's problems. So we can come up with those technological advances and all of those things. But let us look at the context under which we operate.
Context matters. That's very powerful. And in actual fact, it applies even where we are at. That sometimes you think marketing, all this social media, you will think it's what is relevant for your business. Not realizing that word of mouth can be a powerful tool than all the stuff that you could do on social media. So what you're saying about just the context in which where you are operating, your target audience, your community where your practice is at, plays a very important role in terms of the type of services that you're providing and how they are receiving those services. That is very, very powerful, Prof. Now, as we come into a close of this, I know you're not afraid of controversy or addressing very difficult challenges. In the context of South Africa, how do we resolve or solve the issue of unity between the different types of cultural backgrounds that we are having in our country?
You see,
are we a united, sorry about that, are we a united industry? If so, why do you believe so? Or if we're not as united as we can be, how do we change that? Basically, that's the question.
You see, there is a mindset of popularity amongst optometrists based on where you have studied your Bachelor of Optometry, based on your skin color, and all of those. You know, this is not a popularity contest. It doesn't matter where you have studied. What is more important, it is the service that you need to offer to your patients. Now, if you ask me, are we united? We are infiltrated in most cases by politics. When we are with our patients, they trust us. Irrespective of whether you studied at Free State, UJ, University of Limpopo, or UKZN, when you're dealing with your patient, when you're sitting in front of you, the patient believes in you wholeheartedly. And he believes that when he comes out of your cubicle, he will be a much better person than when he first came in. When a patient comes to me, he doesn't ask me, where did I study? When a patient comes to me, he does not look at my race, because it is not race that examines the patient and gives satisfaction to the patient, but it is the skill of a qualified optometrist that is more important, despite where you've studied, despite what your race is, what your creed is, and all of that. Those things are immaterial when you are dealing with a patient. What I would like to submit is that, of course, we are living in a political environment, but optometry and optometrists must steer away from politics. The fraternity of optometry is not aligned to any political structure. Whether you are white, black, Indian, colored, you name them, we operate as optometrists because we are registered with the Health Professions Council, all of us. There are no different registers for those who have qualified at UKZN or at the University of Limpopo. There's only one register where we all register. So therefore, we must operate as one. And there's no one who can claim to have a monopoly of knowledge on the basis of where they studied optometry. It is not what you have studied in class, it is what you know. Some people got a glimpses of what optometry is about in class, but they are much better after qualifying. You may not have done well under your undergraduate, or in your undergraduate rather.
But then things change.
But when you qualify and have that certificate, you may change the world, irrespective of where you have qualified or where you got your degree from. So whether this thing of saying, where did you study, should not arise. We must work together as the optometric fraternity to champion eye health care, irrespective of race, creed, and religion.
I like that. That's powerful, Prof. I don't even think I need to go beyond that. You've hit the nail, the hammer on that one, and I fully agree with you. And thank you for being a champion for that, because years ago, I got the privilege of sharing a stage with you at one of the conferences. And one thing that I got from you was that when you stood up there and you spoke as you're speaking right now. You were you. And even though the audience, we were both speaking it, were audience members that were different from how you and I look like. I was speaking after you, and one thing that you taught me, and I think at that stage, it was my second speaking engagement. I've never told you this story before. It was my second speaking engagement on that particular day at the GIO conference. And one thing that you did on that day for me personally was that you did not speak with an accent. You did not try and accommodate yourself to your audience. You showed your audience who you are, what you are capable of, what your skills were, and you spoke in a language that you are comfortable with, but in a manner in which they can relate and understand with you. So had I not been exposed to that, because prior to that, my perception of speakers, industry leaders, was that you have to be a particular way in order to be able to do certain things. So for me, you are one of those people that right at the start of my journey inspired or ignited that, wait a minute, the best thing that I can actually give is actually myself. And so thank you very much for that. I've never told you this story before, but on that day, I decided that wherever that I get to have an opportunity to speak, I will be true to who I am. Because at the end of the day, if I cannot be myself, what else then is there for me? So thank you very much for that. You have no idea how that impacted. It really impacted me. So thank you very much. Prof, people that want to connect with you, where can they reach you? Are you on social media? Do you have a web? Where can people connect with you?
Well, I'm on social media, but I don't remember the handle. But I know I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, you know, I'm moving along with the times.
With the times.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much. Everyone, Professor Lawrence Sithole, the incredible Professor Lawrence Sithole. Thank you very much, Prof. I learned not just a few nuggets today, but quite a lot. And I'm confident that the people that are going to be watching this will take the information that you have shared with us and they will go and apply it within their respective community so that as a whole, as a fraternity, we can elevate the type of eye care that we are providing to our services so that our communities can change. Everyone, thank you very much for connecting with Eyefrica Media. If you're not following us yet, make sure you're connecting with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And check out our website, www.eyefricamedia.com, and check out amazing content from different leaders all over the African continent. This platform has got nothing to do with me, Dr. Darryl Glover, or Dr. Imani Tarek. This platform is for us, the eye care community, as Dr. Lawrence Sithole has said. And as you have seen on our platform, we are very, very cognizant of bridging that gap between young and old, black and white, Indian, colored, so that when people see optometry, they're not seeing a race in front of it. They are seeing one community that is passionate and committed to solving visual problems on the African continent. So thank you very much. To the next one, everyone.